everyone, this is Sofia Smallstorm. I'm here today on another podcast with Philippe Carillo. He is a filmmaker originally from France who produced the very interesting and very well-made documentary called Inside the Garbage of the World. And it was a pure fluke that I found out about this. I actually found out about it from Dr. Mercola's newsletter. And it so happened I contacted Philippe, and he said he was coming to San Diego for a screening the following week, and it was so well timed. I actually got to meet him and his wife Maxine, spend time with them, and then of course see the movie twice, which everyone should do, at least twice. Philippe, how are you?
Good, thank you, Sofia, for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm very excited about knowing you, and I hope that we can help each other in the future.
Of course.
You could tell us briefly about why you care so much about this ocean plastic phenomenon, which is the focus of the film, Inside the Garbage of the World.
Yeah, you know, I'm living very close to the beach, and 2 years ago, we were just walking on the beach with my wife, and we start to collect plastic. And believe me or not, we get a bag. The bag was also on the beach, and in half an hour we get the full bag of plastic. And we were very wondering where that was coming from. So basically, we did some research on the net, and we find out that there was this plastic patch. This is how they call it, a plastic patch, swirling in the middle of the ocean. So, you know, the reason why we did a film is because we realized that there is some stuff going on in this world, and that people are not aware of it. And to stop it, I mean, imagine this gigantic disaster that we are creating as a human race. And who is going to stop it? And nobody really see it. Not yet. That's the problem. Because when everybody is going to see it, it will be too late. Way, way, way too late. So, you know, in order to tackle the order of magnitude that this disaster coming was about, you know, we had to do something tremendous like a film. And, I've been doing film before, I mean, not as a videographer, but more as a sound and post-production engineer. And so I kind of knew, you know, how to do a part of it. And I just learned, you know, how to do the rest of it and put a film together and put it for free, you know, to just raise awareness. So basically I spent a year, you know, to build this film, to make this film together and to impact the awareness, the reason of people, you know, to be able to impact, you know, the willingness for people to face that problem.
Yeah, Philippe, when you say we're heading toward disaster, there's a lot of stuff happening in this world. You don't just mean plastic in the ocean. You mean a lot more, right?
Of course, you know, that's very interesting because when you start to touch a topic like this, the plastic, suddenly by doing your research, you cross path with radiation, with chlorine, with fluoride, with weather control, GMO. I mean, this is insane. You know, we are at war right now. There is a war going on against the people right now.
Right. I have to commend Philippe. I never expected it. I was actually afraid to contact him because I thought he's going to think I'm a lunatic and he won't want anything to do with me. But Philippe and his wife are totally awake, and you cannot imagine the pleasure for me to run into people who are this talented and committed and are awake, and not awake on a mild level.
Thank you, Sofia. Yeah.
So, you know, it's very exciting that you even did this to start, and it's the quality that it is. And they're a great team. Maxine wrote the script, and it's absolutely beautiful. And Philippe is present in the film. I mean, he appears, you'll see his face, you'll see him on the beach. I think you reenacted your walk, right?
Yes.
Picking up all the garbage.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, and I have to say, I live here in San Diego County, and we have plenty of coastline, and you'll see all kinds of stuff. And, Philippe, I wrote a newsletter on your film, and I wanted to start by mentioning that when plastic hit countries all over the world, it brought so much freedom with it. I included an essay. I think I'm going to post that newsletter with this radio show. But people were able to get a free hand from the introduction of plastic into their villages and communities and lives. Because everything you carried, you had to carry with two hands. And these earthenware containers were passed down through the generations in families. And they were the containers that held water. You had very few cups and glasses. And if your child broke one, he got a terrible spanking because he had broken something very valuable. But plastic and tin cans as well enabled people to store things, to pour things, to transport, hold, pass things much more easily because they could do it with one hand. If you dropped something plastic, the very worst that would happen was what was in it would spill out and you could gather it back up. If it was water, you couldn't, of course, but water was cheap. The container was what mattered.
Yeah.
And so the freedom that plastic gave us made people value it, even though the author of this article that I included in the beginning of my newsletter writes that everyone in the village was turned off by the weird taste of food that had been kept in a plastic container. Whether it was olives, whether it was water, it just didn't taste right. But they soon got used to it because it was so convenient.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. We have been tricked.
Yeah, we have been tricked, and we have sold. This is what I find everywhere in humanity, is humanity will sell what is dear to it and what is of value for sheer convenience and speed. I mean, that's part of the human makeup. Human beings are always trying to solve problems. And I bet that even caveman, when he, you could call it hiked from point A to point B, he was looking for a way to get there faster, right? I mean, this is what we do. We create efficiency in our lives. And so we invent these materials that make our lives super efficient, and we don't quite understand the ramifications and the implications. And then, as you said, people are not seeing the disaster, the war, because our lives are really too short. We don't live enough generations, each of us, to witness the damage, in a bird's eye and long-term sense.
Yeah. Well, if I can add something to what you just said, it's very interesting that it seems like some of the people who own those corporations have found a way to not have the masses be aware or doing any research of a new product that they bring in the market. And that's the real problem, because, okay, people can be like sleeping, not aware. Okay, how you can be aware of what you are not aware about? And that's the very tricky thing, how people can wake up in the morning and say, okay, today, instead of living my life, I'm going to try to be aware of something I'm not aware of.
Yeah.
And that will be great, because if everybody will do that, that will change the world. Now, come back to the company, the corporation who are creating those products. It seems like even the government cannot even protect its people, because that should be not possible for a corporation to invent a product that is not completely biodegradable and safe to be consumed or being, a package for food, right? That should be completely forbidden.
Yeah. In fact, this article, which you'll read if you read the newsletter I post, it mentions the whole concept of garbage, something that couldn't break down. This is when garbage started. It started with materials that we possessed or that we, acquired that you couldn't do anything with. You couldn't recycle them. You couldn't put them back in the land. And so you had to have this new thing called a garbage can. And invariably, a lot of this garbage, which comes from the single-use plastic, this was a distinction that, I hadn't made properly in my own mind. I guess you could say, it's excusable to buy something that persists and exists for a long time, as long as you hold on to it, and you keep using it. But these corporations that you're talking about, the introduction of food bought on the run and water bought on the run. We don't eat our meals at home, many of us. We don't bring water with us. We buy it. We go and people carry cases of water in the trunk of their car where it's heating up in these crappy, crinkly plastic bottles,
Yeah.
So it's that single-use plastic. And there is so much of it in our lives, and we're not even aware of how much we use. And we think that by recycling that takes care of the problem. Philippe, somebody asked me, and I didn't adequately answer the question, I think. How does this plastic wind up in the ocean anyway?
Well, it finds its way. Of course, there is a percentage that comes from ship platform, but the rest of it is coming from the waterway. The watershed. So basically, people trash the stuff, or the trash get out of the recycled can. And by the way, about the recycled can, this is very interesting because do this experiment. One day, don't put, for 1 week, keep your plastic, and then you take a bag, whatever, and you take all your plastic and you go to a recycle place to give them your plastic. And you will see how much they are going to allow you to give them. Because not all plastic are taken by those companies, this recycling company, only the CA, they have to have a tag on it, which means only some certain form of bottles, and stuff. But the rest of plastic, what are they going to say? No, we don't want that. So what are you going to do with it?
I know. Yes, you're exactly right. For instance, they don't want the bottle caps.
Yeah.
They only want the bottles.
Yeah. So anyway, then, if you see, for instance, you go in a city, you will see there's plastic, there's trash everywhere. On the curb, blah, blah, blah. Okay, going to the watershed. And then, when there is a rain, everything going to the ocean. For instance, I live in the marina on the boat, and then each time there is a rain, one day later, you have plastic floating all over the place in the marina.
Yeah. This was back in the 1980s. A friend of mine had a boat, a very small motorboat, and he and I used to go out on the Long Island Sound. This is the East Coast, New York. And it would be hot in the summer, and we would jump off the boat and go for a swim.
Uh-huh.
In those days you could. I swam recently in the Long Island Sound, and the water is bright green. It is like Gatorade. And that's from algae overbloom. But anyway, sometimes we had to just stand in the boat and wait, because there was streams of garbage going by.
Yeah.
It all collects, and there's all this like raggedy-looking grassy stuff in it, and then you'll see bottle caps and this other stuff. I don't even know why I went in. I guess I was hot, and that sealed the deal. But you would see it back then in the early 80s, and it's much, much worse now. And once he had lost an anchor, and he figured out exactly where he lost it, and he went diving to get his anchor, and he kept coming up and saying to me, "You will not believe what's down on the bottom of this sound." He said, "Tires, all this crap, all this garbage is sitting on the bottom." And that was another point Philippe's movie made, Inside the Garbage of the World, that what you see floating, for instance, in the North Pacific Gyre, is not just what's in the ocean. Half of it is already on the bottom, where it is smothering marine life.
Yeah. We're killing the ocean, Sofia. We are just killing the ocean, and after the ocean, it's going to be us.
Yeah. And I think you're going to make a sequel, right, about the health effects?
Yes. Yes, yes, and because this is very interesting. Still, people when they see the film, this is very interesting. We have a lot of good feedback. You know, people are like, "Oh my God, what's happening? We didn't know about this," and then they change their habit. Now, if we really, insist and show the health effect of the plastic, the chemical from plastic leaking into water, into food that you are consuming every day, believe me, people are going to change their way to eat, because plastic is dangerous, and that thing should be, categorized as a hazardous material. It should be. The FDA, failed since a long time to protect American people. And that should be said, very, very high and loud. This is not okay. That's not okay. If you leave a bottle in your car under the sun, the amount of BPA that you're going to get into your system by drinking the water is very high. And it is an endocrine disruptor.
Yeah. In fact, I watched another film about the effects of the chemicals in particular, a very short Australian film, and I learned that they did studies on cashiers who were at work at the beginning of their shift and the end of their shift. And all the cash register receipts now are brominated plastic coated, BPA. The shiny receipts we have, in the old days we used to have these matte receipts, white paper with that purple ink and a few numbers on it.
Yes.
And now we have this shiny receipts, and you look at the male checkers, they're all bald. They all have a lot of body fat and slight breasts. This is what I've noticed. And even from the beginning of their shift to the end of their shift, their blood levels of BPA go way up at the end of a shift as a cashier in a store.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's true.
So, Philippe, you came from France. Is it any different in Europe? Usually they're ahead of America. Can you comment on that?
Well, I don't know if we are ahead of America. Well, Commandant Cousteau, who was ahead of the whole world, in the ocean matter, actually bring up, the pollution to the TV attention, or to the public attention, back in the 70s. He was already seeing, a very big difference in the Mediterranean Sea. And he was, the first one, to talk to communities and to talk to leaders like mayors and officials in France, to change the way we were trashing our trash in the sea. And, the Mediterranean Sea, it's a closed sea. And there is like 300 million people around, the Mediterranean Sea. So it's a lot of people for this kind of small sea, So the pollution was very high. I think it's kind of better right now. I mean, there is better effort done about it. But still, concerning plastic, there is no other way to stop using it. So some people sometimes they bring the solution to, okay, well, we can recycle, we can blah blah. The first and big one that we really have to work on is to stop using plastic, and it comes from the people. It cannot come from the government. It cannot come from the corporation. It has to come from the people, and the people have more power than they think they have in this matter. All together, we can make a big change.
Right. I mean, even today there are fewer people smoking overall, so that has sunk in to at least a few. But you see teenagers smoking still. It's cool. And maybe there will be that division around plastic. So you were referring to Jacques Cousteau, right?
Yes.
And you are from the south of France,
yes.
So you lived on the Mediterranean.
Yes.
Did you have an attachment for the ocean when you were young?
I always wanted to have a boat. I wanted to just go, with a boat and just sail the world.
Yeah.
That's a nice thought, but, and finally I did it. I have a boat now, it's here in America.
Yeah, Philippe is one of the few people I've known who's happily living on a boat with his wife. Yeah, so that's pretty amazing that you can do that. And that says a lot right there, because in order to live on a boat, you must scale down in terms of how much stuff you own and clothes even, right?
Oh yeah, and plus, we have been working on reducing our waste, and it's a challenge. Sofia, I'm not going to be the one who point, the finger to others saying, hey, you are a criminal because you are using plastic. We cut down everything we can here, but it's a challenge. I know it's not easy because when you go to the shop and, okay, you don't buy any plastic bottle. Okay, great. You don't buy any utensils, to eat. You don't buy any plastic anymore, for package. Even the berries, they have plastic package. Okay, we find a way, we give them back over there at the shop. Now, you want to take your laundry soap. What you gonna do? Bingo. And you have plastic all over. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge. But people have to do the effort of it. Otherwise, it's not gonna work. Really, it's a personal responsibility seeing what we are creating as a human race.
Well, Philippe, I have the answer for the laundry thing. In fact, while you were here, I was going to give some to you. Himalayan soap nuts. You put them in a little cloth bag, 6 of them, and you do your laundry, and you'll never use detergent again, and you don't need any plastic to carry it. I'm going to mail you some.
Okay.
But anyone who wants to try this is one of my new finds, and I'm sorry to digress in this interview, but Himalayan soap berries, you will find them right on the front page of my store, avatarproducts.com. The most amazing things in the universe. They have natural surfactant, natural soap, the highest amount of surfactant of anything on the planet. And you simply throw your clothes in the wash, you throw in 6 of these berries in a sock that you tie up or a small bag, and you get the cleanest laundry. It smells like it hung in the wind and sun all day, and no plastic, all organic, everything. It's so cool. You'll love it. So you're going to get that present from me.
Oh, great. Thank you.
And I have now solved one problem for you.
Yeah, exactly. So one more. It's great.
But yeah, Philippe actually Maxine said on television in San Diego, I got to see them on TV briefly before their screening, that she brings containers to stores in order to, I guess you could do this if you were going up to the deli area and you wanted to buy whatever, potato salad or something. But when you buy packaged, you'll go to Trader Joe's and they have green beans. Even if they're organic, they've got that plastic wrap on them. And what can you do? You can put it in your own cloth bag or paper bag, but you will end up taking off that wrap and they're not going to use it again, right?
Well, yeah, the thing is, you have to lead the way. You have to show the way. You have to show that you are not okay with it. When you are at the shop and you really need a product that have plastic around, okay, well, take a little bag, at Whole Foods they sell this little bag, very, very cute. You can put your product in the little bag and leave the plastic on the counter over there on the shop. Believe me, if everybody does that, the shop is going to ask, the manufacturer to change their way. And it's come from the public, All the change we have seen, like a tremendous change, come from the people who pay for it, the people who have the money. Our pocketbook is very powerful in a sense if we are all together.
Yeah, you're right, Philippe. We have to start the chain, and if we take those packages apart in the store and we put the green beans in our own bag and we leave the plastic, the waste, whatever it is, in the store, we give it to the customer service or the, stocking people in the department, the produce department, then they will eventually have so much of it coming back to them that they'll possibly do something, as you say.
Yeah.
I wanted to introduce the concept, I don't know if you've heard of it, of the flying toilet.
No.
All right. So in Africa, there are a lot of people who have squatters on their roof. And these are just people who don't have houses, and they live on the roof of your house, which is flat, or they'll live in other places. Squatters, is called like temporary living. And they don't have a toilet, so they poop in a plastic bag. And the flying toilet is the person pooping in the plastic bag, and then these plastic bags are just tossed. They're tossed on the roadside, or they might wind up in a trash can if they're lucky.
Yeah.
But I was telling some people at your film screening about the flying toilet, and they were appalled. They were saying, people do that? I said, yeah, but we do that in America. And they said, who does it in America? I said, our dogs.
Ah, yes.
There you go. The flying toilet is used by American dogs now.
Wow. And that's true, yeah, there is a lot of plastic. Actually, to be honest with you, I'm doing I was doing a beach cleaning every morning, here, when I was doing my walk. And I find actually a lot of bags like this, at least 2 or 3 a day, sitting on the beach. I mean,
yep.
This is crazy. And, it's like personal responsibility. I mean, the whole thing is like, really. So you cannot have poo on the beach, but you can still have plastic. This doesn't make any sense,
Yeah, Philippe, I was very, you could say, affected, dismayed by the content, the part of your film that showed these beaches. Now, we know that there are pristine areas of the world that you wouldn't expect to find trash in, remote islands and whatnot. But based on the way currents work, these areas can end up being the destination point for a lot of garbage. So Philippe filmed a place in Hawaii that was otherwise beautiful, and I saw you tugging on that net, that was already like embedded in the dune, in the bank.
Yes.
It's part of the beach now. And I went back to a book that I had acquired many years ago, which is a phenomenal book called Against the Tide by Cornelia Dean. She was a science writer, and she was writing about shoreline erosion. And, I will just, if I can read a quick paragraph that will give you the idea of how sand works on the beach. So when a beach is threatened by a storm, it rearranges itself to cope. Harsh storm winds quickly carry lighter sand particles on the surface of the beach to the dunes, where the beach has already established reserves of sand. The heavier particles left behind form a kind of protective covering of coarse grains, too heavy for the wind to pick up. If waves do bite into the dunes, the sand they carry away collects in underwater sandbars. These are exactly what the beach needs to break the waves offshore and weaken them before they hit the beach itself. The reserve battalions of sand are turned into front-line troops. Eventually the storm passes. Now gentle swells pick up sand from the offshore bars, carry it inland, and return it to the beach. So the thing you come away with is this concept that the stuff that floats or is light gets deposited on the beach. And Philippe's film shows us beaches where half the sand is like flakes of plastic. And you can't separate it from the real sand. There's just not enough manpower in the world to do that. So what I realized was this plastic, when it really, really breaks down, it gets smaller and smaller into like pieces that are the size of dandruff, and that's what they look like. They look like white, beige flakes because they've oxidized and they've bleached out. If it was red, it's no longer red, it's beige. If it was blue, it's no longer blue, it's whitish. So that's what's going to wash up on our shores. That's going to be the lightest layer. And we're going to be sitting on beaches that are made of plastic sand because the real sand is heavier since it's made of shell and rock, and it's going to be underneath in the sediment layer. So we're going to have this free beach astroturf that everybody will be sitting on.
Yes, that's true, and it's happening already. It started. It started. If you can see it at Camilo, it's happening in Camilo Beach, but this is one of the beaches that we went to. But it's happening in different location in the world already. It's just a matter of time that all the beaches around the world are going to be the same, are going to be plastic. It's just a matter of how much more we're going to pour into the ocean.
Yeah. That to me is horrifying because plastic is not fun to sit on. It should not be the Earth's covering, Does that affect anyone else? Please? I'd like to know. To me, that's a horrible prospect.
Yes, and we're killing the marine life. Marine life are suffering right now tremendously from our pollution.
Now, can you tell us what you've learned about that so far? I know you're going to go into this second film, which maybe you'll talk about the marine life, the health effects on marine life as well as people. Is that the plan?
Yes, not exactly, but even not exactly the marine life, but all life. You know, plastic actually have a very negative effect on the human race and all living being on this planet. You know.
Can you tell us a little bit? Give us a little preview?
Yeah, well, you know, for instance, I'm going to interview a doctor. His father was actually working in the plastic industry, and he was a chemist. And he had been killed. He had been killed when he was about to talk loud and clear on TV about this plastic that is supposed to be safe, and it wasn't safe for human consumption. And that's kind of a controversy, but this is pretty real, actually. You know, people sometimes they think, oh, okay, yeah, okay, well, they built the plastic, it was convenient. No, they knew it wasn't safe for human consumption. There is no other way, and they have the proof. So it is a war against the public safety, basically. You know, I don't know how they made the FDA or any governmental agency to accept that product as safe for consumption. But that's what the film is going to talk about, and with different doctors, and see exactly what the chemical into the plastic leaking into the food or into the water is doing to our body. You know, creating cancer, heart problem, and all kind of health problem.
Yeah, I watched this section of your film a couple of times, and I took notes from Dr. Anthony Andrade. He's adjunct professor of chemical and biochemical engineering at North Carolina State University.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about the trophic chain. And actually he brought up a whole other angle of plastic, which I had known about, but I finally understood it. You know, the first time you see something and you listen to it, you can get not exactly the right impression. And so I finally understood what he was talking about in your film. But how did you find him?
Well, we went to Hawaii. They had a marine debris conference over there, like they do every year. And then we met all kind of people interesting, actually, scientists and, you know, people who are doing something about this matter. Interestingly, it wasn't very popular. We didn't find a lot of people attending to that. So, you know, that's kind of interesting. So they kind of didn't find the angle to alarm the public, or maybe, you know, it was just more like, oh, okay, well, it's non-profit, blah, blah, blah. Nobody really care about that right now. Just only some scientists are talking. But basically, to come back on a trophic chain, you know, it's very interesting because this scientist was saying that when the zooplankton is eating the plastic, when the chemical goes up to the trophic chain, like tuna, it multiplied by 1 million. So basically, you have 1 million times more chemical in a tuna that you have in a plankton. Mm-hmm. And that's the real danger of it. So then you are eating tuna and you are, I mean, do you have an agency in America that check the tuna to see if they are safe to eat? No, we don't. Mm-hmm. So it just go into the market and people don't really know that they are eating. And that's the real problem. And again, it comes to people, okay, people, please, can you do your own research? Can you wake up and do your own? I mean, really, it's come down to that, unfortunately, because our government failed to protect us.
Well, that's the way it is. I mean, that's what we're realizing now. People who are awake realize that these letter agencies, the alphabet agencies, EPA, FDA, FCC, they don't care about the public. They set standards that are pretty bogus, that benefit the entities that bribe them. And then, of course, the revolving doors between officials in the government were previously officials in big corporations that are, making toxic technologies and marketing them to us, right?
Yeah. And plus, I'm going to give you an example of my own experience. NOAA, which is, an organization, a governmental organization that's supposed to take care of, the marine environment and also, the weather. I asked them, to help us with the film, to see if we can go to the garbage patch and we can do, take some footage and stuff. And, it's very difficult to contact them, first of all. And plus, they don't really care. They have their own agenda and they want to release the information what they want to release the information. But you have to remember that these organizations, governmental organizations, they are paid from the people. So they owe us something. When you pay your taxes, these people are supposed to work for you. They're supposed to work for the American people, So we have to claim that back and say, hey guys, you know what? What are you doing? I need to have the information right now, right there. So basically what they are doing, they are playing with their toys, They are doing research and all kind of research and all kind of expedition around the world and all blah, blah, blah. And then what? And then where it goes? It doesn't even go to the public. So it's like, really we are spending millions of dollars for them to play with their toys. And me as a filmmaker, I cannot even use them to help us to provide information, the right information to the public. What they are afraid of? They're afraid that it's going to be like a tremendous revolt in the country because, oh my God, No. We just have to change the way we are consuming products. That's pretty much it. But public have the right. American people and the public in general, all over the world, they have the right to know what they are eating. Right?
If they wish to, yeah. That's the thing, though. For me, it's the consciousness is either in people or it isn't. And it can be introduced into people, but many people don't even care. They don't. I have to tell you, that Australian video, Our Chemical Lives, showed very plainly that IQ falls with chemical influx and intrusion into the body. Chemicals are dangerous. Man-made chemicals are dangerous to biological life, and they affect intelligence. I saw that and I went, oh, yeah, I get it. This is why the people don't care.
Yeah.
So there are those of us who have protected ourselves somewhat. I was thinking yesterday, do I use personal care products that have phthalates in them? Those are plasticizers. And I said, no, I don't, really. Do I use single-use plastic? Almost never. Do I recycle it when I use it? Yes. What am I using? Where is the plastic in my life that's contaminating my body? And I realized, there's not that much, but I'm so different. I never buy food out. Never. I always take food with me. So I guess, as you say, it comes down to us, the users, the end-line users.
Yes, it is. Just to make a little note here, about the FDA, it's very interesting in this country. I'm here in America since 10 years. I love this country. I like the people too, let's say the majority of them, but, you have here an institution which is the FDA, a governmental agency, which is very interesting. It had a Food and Drug Administration in one entity. I didn't know that could exist because it's a conflict of interest, having the Food and Drug Administration in the same entity. In France, we don't have that. We have a food entity and we have a medication entity or whatever drug you want to say, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But here in America, they have both in the same time. So, okay, so then what? They can do pretty much whatever they want, How to sell more medication while, okay, you don't give a very high quality food. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. Really, when you think about it, drugs are chemicals. They're man-made chemical compounds that were introduced at the turn of the century and marketed to Americans as the way to treat disease and illness. And the chemical companies became the pharmaceutical companies. This was the work of the Rockefellers with the Flexner brothers, Bernard, Simon, and the other Flexner. I can't remember his name. But yeah, the militarization of medicine, the institution of these public health agencies, was all created, fabricated at the turn of the century. And that's when they set out really bashing the other, the original, you could say, healers of the country, the chiropractors, the naturopaths, the osteopaths, and they brought in the allopaths, the MDs, and this became the way to go. MD allopathic medicine with the drug companies partnering with them so that they could sell these chemical creations, compounds to people and say, these are the new miracle drugs. Forget about your natural cures. Forget about what, your midwives and country doctors of the past did, the traditional medicine. And this has really overturned the specter of public health. The spectrum is probably what I'm trying to say, has just gone completely in the other direction. And these compounds, when they enter your body, they simply create more problems. And then you get more compounds recommended to you by the pharmaceutical partnership with doctors. And we know how they sell to the doctors. They take former models and these blonde bombshells visit doctors' offices, with bleached hair and big boobs, and they give free samples and trips and conferences and hotel rooms paid and all this. And then it becomes the new drug of the day.
Oh, yeah.
But what you were saying about the Food and Drug Administration being combined, if you think about it, food is becoming more and more chemical in nature. So, yeah, of course it's a natural marriage, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, and plus, we have been brainwashed, and not even just in America, everywhere in the world, we have been brainwashed by this drug company. Drug company, they are selling drug. What drug does, that drug doesn't do anything good for anybody. Since this is very interesting. If you take a step back to see since how long we are living on this planet. We never needed these people, right? And since 100 years now, we come, with a new idea of how to eat, what to eat, and how to heal ourselves. Meanwhile, it was existing for more than 10,000 years. But where this knowledge went, and that's very interesting to ask, who hid this knowledge? I'm going to give you another example, and it's coming from a doctor that we are using the natural product from. And it said that, chemical company, they're going to take garlic, they're going to take one component of the garlic, the natural garlic. Natural garlic have 75 different compounds that heal your body. If you take one, the chemical company take only one and say, okay, we make this special pill. So it's going to handle one of your problems. But the problem is, because of that, it creates an imbalance in your body, and it creates a side effect. Meanwhile, the garlic doesn't, because garlic exists since a long time. It has been developed, by nature itself. So it is natural to take. Everything that our body needs to heal and eat is already on this planet. We don't need anything special or new or invented. We don't need that at all. So the thing is, we have to do a complete 180-degree turn and see, okay, where did we mess up here? Where we start to go down as a human race on our health. And it is not true that we are living longer. That's a lie. That's a lie. If you go to the native tribe, we went to Sri Lanka last year, and we interviewed a native tribe, and on the nature of what they were eating, and they said literally that the guy was saying, well, my father was living, die about, he was about 100 years, and since they start to eat the Western, culture and all the food and whatever tourists come to them and serve them or offer them, then their lifetime, you know, have been reduced by 40 years. Now they are dying at 60 years old.
It's true.
Yeah,
In fact,
it just shows you that it is not working. This is a lie that with our special technology now we can make people live. Yeah, but in which kind of state? You know, in the state of robot, in the state of a vegetable. You know, I mean, come on, people. You know, our body is engineered to live at least 125 years. Did you know that? It is engineered to be living at least 125 years. So what are we doing?
Philippe, I thought that people who lived like in 1400, 900 AD, they didn't live to be that old. I thought they died much younger. I know that their teeth all fell out very young, when they were young. I mean, in their 40s, a lot of people were toothless. And I know that the human knee is not designed for long-term use. It's a joint. You hear this all the time, that the knee is something that doesn't seem to last more than 40, 50, 60 years. But again, I'm just wondering if that degeneration that I'm referring to now, and this is I'm just stabbing around in my own head, if that has to do with modern life, that our joints are degenerating because we are degenerating, and that maybe you're right, we were designed to live a long time. But I've always heard that people who lived like 1,000 years ago were not living much past 40 or 50 at the most. Have you heard that?
Well, you know, the thing is, you cannot generalize on that. Where was it? What was the condition? What was going on at that time? I'm sure 1,000 years ago, I'm sure in America with the Native American, they didn't have any problem, to be honest with you. I mean, really, frankly, you know, and even in the rainforest, they didn't have any problem, and they were probably living a long time. Now, if you go in Central Europe or in France, okay, yeah, there was problem because people didn't have any idea of sanity or how to get clean or keep clean. Let's say, for instance, you know, if everybody is living in a village and everybody is pooing in the middle of nowhere and nobody take care of that, of course you're going to have disease developing, right?
Right. Well, you have bacteria coming there, but usually people will do that away from where they live. They'll go.
Yeah, but
bury it or something. Yeah,
but that was a problem in Paris, for instance, you know, in 1600, you know, where, you know, it was a problem because they didn't think about it, that you have to find a way, you know, to remove the waste all over the place. And actually Paris, you know, was infested by rats and all kind of disease and stuff. So now, okay, well, we built that city, you know, it is our problem. We create that problem, right? Now, Take another look at how people in the rainforest they were living. They didn't have this problem.
No, well, they weren't concentrated like people were in Paris. The whole city is an artificial thing. People lived in nature. Yeah. They lived in the country. Yeah.
And they knew a way to recycle their own waste. You know, your own waste can make the fruit, you know, flourish. You know, I'm sorry, you know, this is how it works, right?
Right, but it's all the stages too that, you know, it's one thing to put waste, bodily waste, directly into the soil. It's another thing to have many stages of transportation and processing on the way there.
Yes.
And that's what makes it less efficient. And, you know, we live in these artificial dwellings, in these houses with 4 walls and 2 floors and sometimes basements and garages, and so the way it's set up now is very unnatural and requires a lot of processing. And this is all part of Agenda 21, how to process and regroup us so that we are all living sustainably. I wanted to introduce the concept that I learned in your film also, greenwashing. You want to tell us a little about that?
Yeah, greenwashing is a very interesting concept, and a lot of people fall for it. Oh my God, yeah, oh, you know what, we can use plastic. Look, we have this bottle now, and then it's like, you know, oh, okay, you know, they do it with hemp or whatever. But, so it's an easy way to make people, you know, to have a good conscience about doing something that they think is good, or they don't want to do the research about because Coca-Cola came with, you know, a new bottle or something. Coca-Cola didn't came with a new bottle yet. They are going to, because at some point when they're going to lose money, because nobody's going to buy plastic anymore, they're going to have to come up with a new product in order to continue to sell their beverage into a container that is very cheap, So you have to be very aware of that. And the company say, oh, you know what, we're doing green. Okay, what kind of green are you doing? Who are you trying to brainwash here,
Yeah.
Show us that everything. What about, I was thinking about this yesterday, how we should have in this country and actually in all over the world, entities who are completely independent and who are doing a testing all the new product that are getting into the market. That entity have to be completely neutral, not paid by any corporation, but paid by the people. And the people will have the right to have the real information on any new product. You know what I'm saying? That should be something that people should claim. So you know what? Because people cannot do that themselves. They cannot go and have their own chemist to try to find out, if there is any bad chemical into their water bottle or whatever, or water or food or whatever, right? But in the same time, be careful. Read the label. Do your research on the internet. Did ever somebody did a research on that, and a new product, blah, 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 and, because, okay, they do now this non-BPA plastic bottle, but what is inside instead? It's a chemical that is even more concentrated and more harmful for the people,
Yeah, well, to get back to the idea, it's crazy by itself that Coca-Cola should be in some kind of green bottle. The user of Coca-Cola already is not green,
Well, of course. I mean, if you really, I'm not going to say anything about Coca-Cola. I mean, not because I'm afraid, but because it's pointless. But people, if you like Coca-Cola, do your research and see what is inside exactly and what it does to your body. That is very, very actually interesting, and you should do it. You should be aware of that.
Well, I think that's going to take a long time, because those people already know, most of them, that they're not drinking a good, healthy thing. But I just will bring this up as a sidetrack again. Did you ever see a movie called Globesity?
No.
It's about the global obesity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And these companies like Coca-Cola are setting themselves up in countries where populations were calorie starved, where people grew up very poor. For instance, Brazil. The people who are now parents in Brazil grew up, and in Mexico, quite poor, and they did not have enough nourishment, and their bodies are programmed to look for calories. It doesn't matter what the calorie is from, as long as it's calories. So these are the populations that are giving Coca-Cola to their children in milk bottles, who are in schools in Mexico. You cannot find a drinking fountain. You will find a Coca-Cola machine. They're all over. And these are the children who have got huge obesity problems, as do their parents, because the body is not able to to discern between the type of calorie it's getting. It's very sad. And these corporations are taking advantage of these people. And I said in my email, when I found your film and I sent it out to a bunch of people, I said, you cannot deny the third world its plastic century. We had ours.
Yes, that's true. And, to come back on Coca-Cola, I have been using that product, when I was 20, 21 years old, 22. Someday I was just not eating, but just drinking Coca-Cola. And guess what happened?
What?
Well, I lost my teeth.
What? You lost your teeth?
Yeah, my teeth start to have a lot of teeth problem. I never had teeth problem before. Before that, I never had teeth problem.
Yeah.
And I have been drinking Coca-Cola for 2 years, kind of, in excessive amounts, And after that, I mean, during that time and before the end I stop, I find out, okay, oh my God, what I'm doing, I have so many teeth problems. I have to go to the dentist to redo all my teeth. That's crazy.
Why do you think you were addicted to Coke then?
Well, because of the sugar, or because of, the nature of, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it was a good feeling, at that time, but you are poisoning your body. Actually, they put citric acid, if I remember well, in Coca-Cola in order for your body to not reject it. Because with all the sugar that is inside a glass of Coca-Cola, you will throw up right away.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they have citric acid in it.
Yeah, in order for your body to accept it, to not reject it.
Huh. Is that something your body needs and likes?
I don't know. I'm not an expert on that, but I can tell you one thing is that they found a trick in order for you to like it. It's like a McDonald's, It's like, okay, oh, you like McDonald's. Oh, yeah, the French fries. Oh, great. Oh, that's great. Wow, yeah, that tastes good. And you're addicted to it. Addiction is the thing.
Yeah, well, these fast food companies and beverage companies, they work with chemical flavor companies,
yes,
like International Flavors and Fragrances, and they just put tons of artificial chemicals that are built to imitate natural flavors. For instance, the potatoes served by fast food companies are so processed and so dehydrated that they lose all natural potato flavor. So they have to be infused with artificial potato flavor, which is what makes them taste so good, because the body can't distinguish between the artificial chemical and the natural one. So that's one of the problems in our body, and this is what I've learned very recently about estrogen mimicry, which is one aspect of what your next film will probably go into. This bisphenol A molecule is arranged very similarly to that of estrogen. So the estrogen molecule is shaped like a wide horseshoe. Like if you cut off a fingernail, you trim your fingernails, that's the general shape of the estrogen molecule. And bisphenol A is shaped just like that. And its ends are almost in the same position as the two ends of the estrogen molecule. And so your body's cells think that bisphenol A that's floating around is estrogen, and it's taking it in and using it and integrating it, incorporating it. And we have certain enzymes, for instance, that control how much estrogen gets through to fetuses in pregnant mothers. But those enzymes cannot tell that this bisphenol A is not estrogen. They are confused by the bisphenol A, and they can't act on it at all. So we're getting babies with too much estrogen, way too much. And they're ending up in these half-formed males, which is my particular opinion, personal opinion, is this is why we're getting all these homosexuals in our society, because they're not quite male, because there's too much prenatal estrogen.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, these are all possible things that, you can go into later or other people can, but we have to understand how chemicals disrupt. They really do. They have massive effect on us. And the quantity needed is just minute. A minute amount of hormone can change the balance of something radically,
Yeah. There is way too much chemical in this world already. This is a very, we're under attack. We're under attack, and the attack is against the people, everywhere in the world. From this company, that will be very interesting to know exactly what goal they have. Why don't they just provide a product that is great for humanity, and make great health? That would be the real question. We lost what is the question? We lost to ask, what is the real question here? Oh, the question is, well, you are a big corporation. Why don't you sell a product that is completely safe and great for the human body? Why?
Because there's a trade-off of I knew a lawyer, I still do, who represented big studios. And the biggest studios, the Steven Spielberg, DreamWorks, all that in LA. And he told me that all that happens is, all the work they do is about money, a big sum of money moving from one account to the other, and a few weeks later some other issue comes up and a big sum of money moves from that account back into the first one or a different one. And that's what corporations do. If they create products that enhance our lives, they're not going to have the kind of profits that they get when they create products that don't enhance and that actually mess up our lives. And then we have to go to a doctor because we have health problems. So then the pharmaceutical company gets to make lots of profits. And then we have, more problems. I mean, down to the funeral companies because we're all dying. I'm just ad-libbing here. But there's much more money in destruction than there is in I guess, protection. There's like the old saying, there's no money in peace. There's only money in war.
Yeah, and there's no money in health. There's only money in people being sick. And that's a very interesting philosophy, but it is not going towards the survival of humanity and our future as a human race. That's actually complete the reverse. So what is the real goal, the real purpose of these people at the top? They try to kill us, or just doing like experiment on us on how it works, or blah blah blah, to take the control.
Philippe, the corporation will survive the people in it. And the corporation is a fictitious entity. It's not real. So,
of course,
a corporation can last 200, 300 years, theoretically, and it'll outlive people. So it's not in the interest of these fictitious entities to protect and enhance the lives of the mortal entities. So I think this is it. There's no interest on the part of Nestle. If Nestle can exist for 500 years, then it's in its interest to do things to us that don't help us, to maximize its profits. And the people who run these companies, maybe it's all dynasties, it's legacies, they pass these accounts on to their progeny or their favorite buddies, or I don't know, but I can see that because there's this corporate, the lifetime of a corporation is not mortal. It's an immortal thing.
Yeah,
that's what.
And I understand that corporation thing. I understand when you pass over to your kid, the corporation, or to the shareholder or whatever it is. Okay, yes, you want to make a profit. You want to maximize the profit and reduce the expenses. Okay, well, that's understandable. But in the same time, that's not going to go into a good future, because even these people are going to suffer from it. If you really put the math together, connect the dots together. So these people are creating a world where themselves are going to be affected by it, And then, again, the power is coming from the people. If you really think about it, corporations are made of people. People are running a corporation like this. Of course, a legal entity that is not a real entity, it's just a legal entity, but they are running by people. So as people living on this planet, we have the power to change things, but the first thing, and this is my message to, after we did the film and learn everything we learned, is, people have more power than they think they have, and they have to do their own research. They have to ask questions and say no to anything that is not aligned with their pro-survival thing,
Yeah. Well, that is the way we would like it to be. And whether we can get other people in our midst to think like that is the challenge, right? The people do have power, but again, it's a numbers game.
Yeah, and I guess, unfortunately, it comes down always to have a disaster. Suddenly everybody is like, oh my God. You know what I'm saying? And we try to avoid this disaster by saying it in advance, you know. But again, you know, there is a way to live. There is a way to be smart. There is a way to be aware. And the way to be aware is to do your own research on your own. Is to really, to be, you know, thinking in a different way where you can say, okay, you know what? This morning I wake up and there is stuff I don't know about. I'm not aware about. And I know that I'm not aware about something that I'm not aware about. You know, it's kind of a tricky thing, you know, but this kind of thinking have to be implemented by people in order to be more aware and to do something about it. And the first thing to be aware about something is to face it. If you cannot face the problem, you cannot be aware of it. You know what I'm saying? And that's very important. This is the first thing that have to occur, is to be able to face it. You know, for instance, you know, if you are, let's say, okay, let's say there is a big accident on the street in the front of you. Okay, you have to face it in order to do something about it, right?
Sure.
Okay, so you have to face it. Okay, oh my God. Okay, there is one guy is injured here. What I'm going to do? Oh my God. Okay, call 911. Do something about it. We know first, you know, you have, okay, well, this is the thing. You have to face it. If you don't face it, you're going to just run away and tell people, call the police instead of doing something yourself. And that's not right, right?
Right. I mean, you have to see the problem, and you then have to decide if it is important to you to acknowledge the problem as your own problem, right?
Yes. And what is below the problem? Is the problem is going to be a problem that I don't know about? Let's say the plastic. You know, I mean, when we decide to take care of the plastic, I say, whoa, wait a minute. Why we have so much plastic on the beach? Then we did some research and we said, oh my God. And nobody is really talking about it. You know, only like, I don't know, 30,000 views, you know, on the data that was on the internet already. I said, well, we have to do something about it. And we do research, and then, oh my God, you know, you're pulling the string, right? See, what is behind that? I don't understand. You're pulling the string, and suddenly it's another data that doesn't make sense. You continue to pull the string, and then finally you find like the big beast that was hidden from everyone. And now what you're going to do? Well, you have to provide this information to others, because now you are empowered. You are empowered by your knowledge, and you need to empower other people.
Yeah. I was just thinking as you were talking about whether the plastic in the ocean and on the beaches becomes a coastal concern more than it does for people who live inland. But it's the health effects of plastic on everybody. You know, the user is the one who ultimately sends the plastic into the ocean.
Yes.
And so the users have to understand that contact with these chemicals, as Dr. Andrade was pointing out, plastics actually concentrate other chemicals. This concept of plastics being a container exists in their very chemistry. Plastics hold aromas, and they manage in the ocean to concentrate chemicals in themselves. And this is passed up what's called the trophic chain, which is the food chain. And any animal that eats another animal will concentrate the chemicals in that animal and integrate those chemicals into its own body. One reason we have an obesity problem in our culture is because people are toxic, and their organs cannot filter out the massive number of toxins and chemicals that those people, the users, put into their own bodies.
Yeah.
So when you see all these extremely fat people, it used to be called morbid obesity, and it isn't anymore. You are really seeing people who have body banks of toxins. The fat becomes a bank in which the body puts toxins that it can't get rid of. So this is why it's so difficult for a lot of these people to lose weight, because their body is resisting the loss of that weight. It's saying, no, I can't unleash this weight because I'm going to flood the bloodstream with all kinds of toxins. And so, you know, the food chain is similar in that these toxins get concentrated from one consumer into another. And when I talk about the food chain, it starts with producers. It starts with organisms that don't even eat food. They make their own food, like dinoflagellates, algae that uses sunlight to make food. Plants are producers. They use sunlight to make chlorophyll, and that's their food. Then you have consumers that eat animals, that eat plants, and that eat those kinds of algae. Zooplankton is an animal form of plankton, and it eats the plant form of plankton. So all these chemicals get passed up into the next consumer and the next consumer and the next consumer. And then you've got apex consumers, which are like sharks. And at the very end of the chain, you have decomposers, which break everything down. They turn organic waste back into elements that nourish the soil. You know, the bacteria, the molds that grow on a rotting log are decomposers. And it's very interesting. But that chemical chain travels all the way through the producer, consumer, apex consumer, decomposer line.
Yeah. And also we are going to break the food chain, by the way, you know. We are going to break it at some point. We are going to, you know, there is a link between the zooplankton and us, and this link is going to be cut at some point with chemicals and plastic. And really with the amount of chemical, as you said, the people are ingesting during their lifetime, you know, our body is not designed for that. So it has been under attack, and the only way to get rid of that is to do a detoxification with natural products. And you can just help your body to do the job. It's not like, oh, you're going to take another chemical to detox your body. Come on. No, you have to detox with a natural way. You just help your body to fight, because our body is designed to filter and to get rid of all the chemicals that we can encounter, you know, but we have to help our body to do this task, you know. So it's not like, okay, it's a losing battle. No, we can do something about it. And again, you know, I don't want to be a pessimist here and say, okay, are we all going to die? That's not true. We have solution, but we have to talk about it and do and act on it right now.
Right. Philippe, what has your own path been from the Coca-Cola guzzler that you were after your dental problems made you wake up? Are you converted now to eating much better and avoiding things like Coca-Cola?
Oh,
yeah. What's your...
It has been actually a slow progression, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because if I knew what I know today, my life would be much, much better. You know, for instance, 3 years ago, I have a throat problem, and I was smoking, and I had to go to the ER because I could not breathe anymore. And then they shoot me with all kind of stuff, even, you know, how they call that, not the heroin, but anyway, something like very specific. It's a drug that makes you like, you know, not feel anything. And then
morphine.
Morphine, yes. So during 3 hours, I get all kind of shots and stuff. And my wife was like, oh my God, really? Wow, this is crazy. They give me antibiotic, and I came home, I wasn't feeling good at all. And with the antibiotic, you know, I was taking that, it was making my stomach very achy. I stopped everything. I said, you know what, that's it. I have to do my own research and find out the natural way to eat and live, because this is going to kill me. So 3 years ago, I did my research, and a lot of research, and then I came back to the point where the only way to eat is to eat what we were eating 100 years ago. You know, no pill, no vitamins, you know, everything natural, everything organic, everything. And then, you know, some elements of the organics like garlic, turmeric, or ginger, you know, all this kind of stuff that are natural, you know, taking them, you know, in order to clean my body and detox my body. And today, I'm eating, most of my diet is green, salad, nuts, pure water. Okay, once in a while, a glass of wine. Okay, because I'm French, I have the right to do that. But basically, I completely turned back, 180 degrees to try to live as we were living 100 or 200 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it takes a personal wake up. It takes hitting a wall like that, and then you see what they tried to do to you. I mean, why do they do all these crazy things? And they do these workups and analyses, and they add this and throw that at you, and it's all man-made, inorganic chemicals. They just make you feel worse.
Yeah, exactly.
And make you worse. It's not just feeling worse. You will be worse with that stuff in your body when you're already in a crisis.
Exactly. And just take, the radiation. They try to get rid of cancer now with radiation. Are you really kidding me? Radiation is the reason why you have cancer.
Yeah, that's right. You can say that 1,000,000 times, and there still will be people who won't understand it.
Yeah, and they're going to follow the doctor. And it is very interesting, Sofia, because, sometimes you are fighting a system that people who are not aware are going to defend. Like crazy. This is no. We don't want to change the system. The system works. We have to keep going because, I don't just take a pill and I will feel better. Oh my God. Okay. I don't care if I suffer. I take a pill and that's okay. I may die at 65, but that's okay as long as I don't suffer. Wow. Can we just live happy with the right food, the garden food in your garden and stuff? When we were in Sri Lanka, just so you know, a little story for you. We were in Sri Lanka in the middle of nowhere. We were in an hotel, whatever, hotel it was, and then we were about to interview this native tribe, to find out, what their secret was to have a better life than us. And then we were just walking, and there is this old lady, and she have a full garden. I said, oh my God, that's beautiful. And then she said, well, 2 years ago, the government, my husband got sick and he couldn't work anymore. So what we did, we just built a garden. I learned how to do garden and now we have a full garden and I give even, food and stuff to my neighbors and we are making a living with that and that's it. And I was like, wow. And this old lady, she was so happy with nothing. She had nothing, just a little house, like very, very, it was literally 4 walls. That's all. I mean, really. And she was so happy and so genuine. And she was like, now I'm happy. Now I'm living. Now, I have food all the time. Is that interesting?
Yeah, when we can produce our own food or even prepare it. I was thinking of you when you were telling that story and you're on a boat. So you can't very well have a garden, right?
Yes, it's complicated, yeah.
I suppose you could grow things in pots on your deck, but that takes up space.
I actually start to do that, yes. I start to do that. It's a lot of work though, but you know what? We have our first tomato last year, our own tomatoes, and they were like delicious.
Wow, grown on the boat?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. You should make a small film about that. But, but even preparing your own food is very gratifying. I remember being stuck in traffic on the 5805 merge. I was working downtown and I was coming home and there was a terrible traffic jam. And I just said to myself, I just wish I were at home. All I want to do is chop cilantro. And it was a real thought, a genuine thought. And I thought, gosh, if someone heard me say that, they would think I was crazy.
Actually, no, because you listen to your body. Your body knows what it needs if you know how to listen to your body. And this is another trick. People knew that in the rainforest. They were listening to their body with the flavor and stuff. Just smelling at something and say, oh yeah, I can eat that or I want that. It is very interesting. We lost that.
We're cut off from the earth, Philippe. And you made a great movie that helps us understand what is happening to that poor earth. And the marine environment is really the basis of everything. It all starts in the ocean.
Yes.
And we are the ocean ourselves, I'm getting goosebumps as I'm saying this. But that it is so crucial, and this film is so well made. It's a people-driven film. There are people in it, not just scientists. There are people who are avid ocean lovers, who are cleaning the beach. I mean, this is a beautiful thing that people are giving time and giving of themselves. And really trying to fix the situation, but so much of it rests on us. We are the users, the consumers, and it's our trash that's going into the watershed, as Philippe explained, that's winding up in the mouths of animals, ocean creatures. I mean, one of the sights that I will never forget in your film was the mother albatross. Albatrosses are birds, and I can't imagine they're very smart. But they're working on instinct, just shoving plastic down the throat of the baby albatross.
Yeah.
I mean, literally forcing it down there, thinking that this is food.
Yeah, because they don't have the smell. They cannot smell things. You know, they are very different than us. So that's the reason why those birds, you know, are eating whatever is there. So when there is plastic, they then eat plastic. You know, this is a massacre, Sofia. This is a massacre.
It is. You know, I remember once I was sitting on the beach and I was eating those stoned wheat thin crackers, which are about 3 inches by 3 inches and very thick and hard. And I don't think I fed this to the gull directly, but there was a seagull hanging around. He wanted some of my crackers.
Uh-huh.
And I dropped one and he grabbed it and he swallowed the whole thing. And his neck was a big square. It was like he had this collar inside him. It was the crackers sticking out. And I thought he would die. But he just stood and looked at me while he tried to get this thing down into his stomach. And this is what they do. They'll swallow these jagged-looking plastic, you know, riffraff, and they just take it into their stomach. And you see in Philippe's film the carcasses, the dried-out carcasses of seabirds and other sea creatures which are on the sand, you know, desiccating further, and nestled right where their stomach would have been are all these plastic items. These are the things that this animal swallowed and was carrying around with it for God knows how long.
Yeah. And they don't die because of ingesting that. They die because the stomach is full of plastic and they cannot ingest anything anymore.
Right. There's no room, and their intestinal tract can't pass this out. They can't break it down with enzymes or
yes, and exactly the same thing for the whales. Why the whale have her stomach getting out of her body in the film? How can that happen? I mean, really, Sofia, tell me about it. How a whale can reject her entire stomach from her body? This is crazy, right?
Yeah.
And this is what happens. Imagine the suffering of this whale before she died.
Yeah, there was 400 pounds of plastic in that whale.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. So
it's just horrible. Just horrible. And I just hope that people who live in cities that are inland will have some interest in this, because it is a global problem. In fact, let's mention Captain Moore's findings. When he went to the Eastern Garbage Patch, which is part of the North Pacific Gyre, this was back in 2007, 2008, and the ratio, this is already freaky, of plastic bits to zooplankton. Zooplankton are the animal organisms that look like beige dandruff that animals eat in the ocean, little animals. But the plastic degrades to the same looking thing. So animals are mistaking plastic for zooplankton, and they're just opening their mouths and taking it in. And the ratio back in 2007, 2008 was 6-to-1.
Yes.
6 parts plastic to 1 part zooplankton.
Yes.
Philippe, tell us what it is now. Well, in 2009, Captain Moore went back, and tell us what it was.
Yeah, he did an average of, actually he did 3 voyages, one in 2008, 2009, and one in 2012. And that basically the ratio plankton to plastic was now in 2000 average 2008, 9, and 12 was 36-to-1. So
that's right. He did it in 1999 and then again 3 trips. I messed it up in the beginning, but yeah, it went from 6-to-1 in 1999 to 36-to-1 in the late 2000s. So that means, if you really think about it, there's 36 times more plastic in the water than these small marine organisms that everything eats.
Yes.
So when these, krill feeders, the big whales, they just open their mouths and they take in krill. Krill are a form of zooplankton. They're just bigger, tiny little shrimpy things.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, I learned a jellyfish is a kind of zooplankton. So zooplankton can come in all sizes. But the smallest form of zooplankton, the algae form, is 1 part to 36 parts plastic in the ocean.
Yes. So basically, the curve of this, if you put that on a graph, you will see that it is an exponential curve, which means that the acceleration of this disaster is multiplying on itself. So basically, we are going to reach 100%, 1 to 100, basically in, let's say, if my calculation is right, about 2019, 2020. And let's say I have, let's get a margin of error of, 50%, or then, okay, we're going to get 100% of plastic, in the ocean in 2025. Okay, yeah. I mean, so let's say we have 10 years. I see the future, Sofia. I see that in 10 years the fishery are going to collapse. I can see that with all the data I have. I mean, it's no brainer. You put the data together, you put the dots together, and then you say, oh my God, you put it on a graph, and you see the graph and say, we are not going in the right way right now, believe me. 10 years.
Wow. Well, I'm very sorry to hear that, but I'm glad I found your film and I found you, Philippe and Maxine, and I'll do what I can.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we thank you for what you are doing, because we need to spread the word on that. People are not aware of it, and this is our responsibility, our task, to help people to be aware of something that is going to harm them and us. That's our responsibility.
Well, it is, and thank you for saying it just like that. And I really encourage people to look for this film. It's on YouTube. You can get a DVD from me on my website. I have some that are actually autographed by Philippe, and I will put a link there, avatarproducts.com. And Philippe, you were manufacturing DVDs, right? And you're going to sell them too?
Yes, we're going to sell it through our website, for people to do screening. And I really, we did this film for the people. We didn't do this film to be known as a filmmaker and how talented and blah, blah, blah. Well, no, we did that because we need to spread the word. And with a full documented film, people can understand the data in 1 hour and 20 minutes. Spend that time. It is your future. It is about the future of your children. You need to spend that time.
Tell us your website, please.
Yes, it's PCMC Films. PC like Philippe Carillo, and MC like Maxine Carillo. Films.com. So it's very simple.
Well, I will post that, and I thank you very, very much for this wonderful interview.
You're welcome.
We'll hear more when you start working on that next film.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Sofia. Thank you very much for what you are doing.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.